Thank you so much to wachelreeks for sending me this deck list. I reached out on TikTok a while ago, and I apologize for only just getting this up now. It has been a crazy month. Aeve is all about storming into more and more oozes, more and more spells, and more fun. This deck's mana curve is really low, making that much easier to do as well. Rachel has definitely taken this to a great height and flexed the mono-green spellslinger strategy. Now, more mana equals more fun, and there are a ton of mana producers in this deck. The more mana we have, the more spells we can cast, and the more oozes we can spew out. There are also a bunch of other spells that can use this mana as well, making for a mana-heavy storm. Sol Ring. Not only is Sol Ring a must in most commander decks, its low mana value makes it perfect for a quick casting storm deck. Elvish Mystic, Fyndhorn Elves, Llanowar Elves, and Llanowar Visionary, all of these are pretty low cost elves that all tap to add 1 green, furthering the amount of mana we can add at any given time. Birds of Paradise, the same goes for birds, only it taps for any color of mana. Karametra's Acolyte, Nyx Lotus, Nykthos, Shrine of Nyx. All of these are slightly different, but at the end of the day, they all add green equal to our devotion to green. Very important for casting spells, and in mono green, you're going to have a really high devotion. Circle of Dreams Druid and Growing Rites of Itlamok. Both of these tap to add green for each creature we control. Growing Rites has to activate, but once it does, it's basically a Gaia's Cradle. Arbor Elf, Voyaging Satyr, Krozen Restorer. All of these have the ability to untap our lands. There are very important lands in this deck to untap, Nykthos being one of them. I will make sure you see the others toward the end of the video. Crop Rotation and Elvish Reclaimer. The ability to sacrifice one of our forests to go find another strategic land is amazing, and especially on a stick with Elvish Reclaimer. Expedition Map and Sakura Tribe Elder. Sack both of these to find a land, but the map is another one that allows us to find the specific land we are looking for. Pier's Whim. This is a fun spell. We're probably going to make everybody a foe and force them to sacrifice their artifacts or enchantments while we get away with any land we wish. Oracle of Moldiah, Gaia's Touch, Augur of Autumn. These all have a few different abilities, but the most important of the lot is playing lands from the top of our library. Killer mana advantage plus a sneak peek to our next draw. Metamorphosis. This allows us to sacrifice a creature, add its mana value +1 to our mana pool, and cast a creature spell. What an amazing way to add extra mana to build our storm count. Whoo, that was a long mana heavy section, wasn't it? Well, now are you ready for Rachel's card draw section, drawing into answers? We got Elvish Visionary, Multani's Acolyte, Wall of Blossoms. These are all simple. They enter and draw us a card, plain and simple. Glimpse of Nature, Beast Whisperer, and Zendikar Resurgent. With a green deck, and especially this creature-heavy deck, drawing a card when you cast those creatures is insanely powerful, and these all do just that. Plus, Zendikar Resurgent has the small added benefit of adding a little bit of extra mana every time we tap our lands. Guardian Project, Commander staple right here. When our creatures enter, we'll draw cards. And since it's Commander, none of them will have the same name as another. 0 drawbacks on this card. Recycle. Since Rachel's made the mana curve of this deck really low, Recycle will be popping off. Whenever we play a card, we'll draw a card. Having this out gives us access to more answers while we build massive storm counts. I don't care how bad that food is, Gerard. I'd eat it any day for this effect. Runic Armasaur. This little dude will just sit out and watch his activated abilities go off under our opponent's controls. You'd be surprised how often this happens in games, and free cards are always super nice. Benefactor's Drought, something like that. A card that'll sneak out of nowhere, untap all of our mana dorks, draw a card for all the blocking creatures our opponents control, sit back and relax. This doesn't even have to be played during our turn when we attack. It can be used when stronger opponents attack, and then we can watch the death unfurl and the card draws come to us. Building a storm. We need to find the things in the deck that will help us in the moment. Rachel has put in some killer answers to building the perfect storm. Vivian, Monster's Advocate. This particular Vivian helps us cast creature spells from the top of our library, essentially adding an extra card to our hand. She also helps us find creatures with her -2 ability. Pretty slick. Abundant Harvest. This is an overlooked card, but a strong one. We can simply find what we need from the top of our deck for 1 green mana. Sure, it's not accurate as to what you find, but simply being able to pick between land and non-land can be incredibly helpful in a lot of situations. Worldly Tutor, instant speed creature tutor. Use this on your opponent's turn to draw the creature you want most on your turn. Evolutionary Leap, reusable effect to sacrifice creatures to find different ones. Fauna Shaman, very similar to Evolutionary Leap, but you discard the creature card instead of sacrificing one. Finale of Devastation and Green Sun Zenith, find creatures with mana value X or less. These can be used very early in the game or late in the game, and they'll just always be great. And really, the mana curve of the deck is pretty low, so you could find a lot of stuff for 3 or less. Cemetery Prowler, you got graveyard removal as well as cost reduction for each thing you exile. An amazing new mythic from the last year, and I'm sure this is going to see a ton more play in the future. Duskwatch Recruiter, a creature finder as well as a cost reducer when flipped. Neat card here. Nylea Keen-Eyed is basically Duskwatch Recruiter, but better, finding creatures and making them cost less. And did I mention those spells we'll be casting for our storm count? Yeah, those are going to get cheaper, and yeah, GG folks. Apex Devastator, I've got 4 words for you, and they're all Cascade. Once there's enough mana, you'll basically get 5 spells off this one card, and Cascade specifically says that you cast the spells you find from the top of your library, which again adds to the storm count. I don't think this deck would be complete without this card. Llanowar Druid and Quirion Ranger. Untapping things is much more powerful than you might initially think. Untapping all our lands with Llanowar Druid and untapping a creature with Quirion Ranger makes the ability to cast spells very easy. With all the low-cost cards in this deck, these two can't be overlooked. Early Harvest. This is another one that can untap all our lands, and since it's an instant, you can storm it up on someone else's turn. Oh, and the lands you just tapped to cast a spell get untapped as well. Emerald Charm, versatile little Starmie right here, am I right? Goes with the untapped theme by untapping a permanent, but it can also be used to destroy an enchantment or force a creature to lose flying. Malachite Talisman, this is an interesting one. You can untap permanents, but only at a very specific time, but as long as you meet all its requirements, you'll be untapping mana dorks left and right. Temur Sabertooth, I personally always overlook this card for some reason. It's so strong. Creature protection, plus it worked great with adding extra card draw with those card drawing creatures, or protecting Aeve, or just annoying opponents with it. Now, removing the adversary, this is all about getting rid of the stuff that we don't want out. And every deck needs some answers to whatever everyone else is doing, right? Acidic Slime and Reclamation Sage, these enter to destroy artifacts or enchantments. And didn't I just go over that Temur Sabertooth card? Another way to abuse it right here. Scavenging Ooze, more graveyard removal, a little bit of life gain, and keeping to the theme, a massive little ooze that starts small and gets big. Kolga the Titan Ape, King Kong himself, creature, artifact, and enchantment removal. This big guy is scary, and really not all that hard to cast when your only color is green. Beast Within, destroy a nasty permanent. That person makes a 3/3 beast, but there are much worse things. Squall Line, flying creature field wipe for however much you want to put into it, but it also deals that much damage to everybody. But if you want to go out with a bang, may as well do it on your terms. Kenrith's Transformation, this is another weird card that needs to be in more green decks. Some scary creature removal, and it has the ever coveted enchantment aura typing for all those Enchantress decks. Amazing value for only 2 mana. Bonus help. These are basically the cards that don't fit too well into any other of the categories, but they're very useful nonetheless. Vivian on the Hunt, brand new card as of the making of this video, and a recent addition to the deck. Vivian is the best at finding creatures, and this particular card has multiple ways of doing that, and they're both plus abilities. She's so good. Eternal Witness and Bala Ged Recovery. Recover something from your graveyard to hand, and Bala Ged Recovery acts as a land if we really need it. Gelatinous Genesis. Oh ho ho boy! More friends for Aeve. With the massive amounts of mana we make, this spell will create a ton of slickery little guys. Sylvan Library. Am I gonna pay 8 life to keep these cards in my hand? Yeah, probably. Another card that really puts us ahead of anyone else. and very powerful looking at the top 3 cards of our deck every single turn. Triumph of the Hordes. This is one of my favorite win cons for green, giving creatures a nice buff and eliminate everyone in the process, and since it's infect, we don't have to do as much damage to each person, so even if they're still at 40 life, we can still kill them with 10. Concordant Crossroads. Giving every creature haste has to be a good idea, right? Yes, I think so, and especially for all of our mana dorks, that really helps. Lands. Now I know I don't cover lands in videos because it's usually the same for most decks and a bit uninteresting, but in Rachel's deck here, these are very important. So we got 24 forests, of course. You gotta have your basic forests. Very important for the land searches. Temple of the False God. A lot of people don't like this land that much because it can be slow, but I don't see that as an issue here. So much ramp makes this an amazing card in green. Havenwood Battleground taps to add green, but can also be sacked to add 2 green instead. Nice in a pinch. Dryad Arbor. Technically kind of another mana dork-ish, and since it's a land and a creature, you can abuse its power with the spells I've already gone through. Wasteland. This one counts as an extra removal spell, destroying certain lands across the table that cause everybody grief. Scavenger Grounds. This one allows us to essentially Bojuka Bog in any color. Not many effects do this outside black, so having it as a backup is really nice. Petrified Field. Now if somebody uses a wasteland effect on one of our amazing lands, or we sacrifice one, this allows us to retrieve it at a later date. Sanctum of Eternity. Being able to cast Aeve again and again is such a cool thing, and especially without paying the commander tax, and Sanctum allows us to do that, making another massive Storm Push and another massive Ooze Army. War Room. Another card draw spell essentially, but it doesn't take up a spell slot. And in this case, we can pay 3, pay 1 life, and draw a card. Not a bad effect. Winding Canyons. I didn't know this card existed as the making of this video. Make it so you can cast creature spells at instant speed? That's pretty nuts on a land. Where is this reprint? Castle Garenbrig. I love this land. It's kind of a green ritual effect for green creature spells. Pay 4, then add 6. Just what green needed, right? And most importantly, we have Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Make all our lands forests in addition to their other types. Cannot beat this. All those utility lands in this deck can tap for green when this is out, making them that much better. Thank you so much, Rachel, for allowing me to use this deck and put it into a video. I do realize you constantly change the deck list, as all of us do to all of our decks, so I hope this can be a cool snapshot into the deck's past and a fun way to share your amazing deck with your friends. Thank you so much again. And thank you everybody for watching. I love seeing decks from the community, and I hope to see all of your commander decks someday. Send me that deck list and I'll make a video for your deck. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you never miss your weekly dose of magic. To support this channel, visit the TCGplayer affiliate link in the description below. And if you want to support the channel directly, visit patreon.com/ManfredPlusMagic. As a patron, you'll have access to the community Discord where you can talk with myself and other friends about all things magic. And you'll find even more benefits for each tier, starting at $1 as a copper.
Do you even want to play? It was your idea. You hardly seem to care. Why do you expect me